Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gonna teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington Charles Bishop. As you see, Mike Washington Charles Bishop, they're out on assignment. So I got the next two best professors in line. I got the clinical professor, visiting professor, that's clinical professor A.D. Drew, and visiting professor Bryan Fulford coming back, providing this updates. So welcome to episode 254 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast. The show that's covering the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports from institutions large and small. From NAIA to the NCAA, we share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs in the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my guest host, I should say. That's Professor Drew and Professor Fulford. We're filming from our home studios and sending a signal live to our KCUH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, Ralph Cooper, multi-Hall of Famer, in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. With that being said, Professor Drew, good to have you.
Good to be here, Doc.
Professor Fulford, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Doc. Thanks for the invite back. That means I must have did a good job last week. You got the call back up, so I appreciate it.
Cool. Yeah, we called you back up. You said from the bullpen, man, you know, you had to do your 30-day assignment in the minor leagues, but man, they say you're ready. They say you're healthy, you're looking good.
I got more than 80 pitches. I got more than 80 pitches in me, Doc, if you need me.
The question is, are you going to throw a perfect game? That's the question, Brian.
Every outing I'm trying to throw a perfect
Yeah, exactly. Game. Yeah, that is a little bit out there, right? You ready for that perfect game? Today's episode of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab is sponsored by THG Agency LLC. THG Agency is a company that provides sporting and educational consulting and data analytics. I want to take a little advantage of being the host, if you would, driving the truck. And I want to shout out to Jerome Jeep Sutton. Always make sure I'm kept up to date on FAMU athletics. I know y'all make sure I'm that as well, but he kind of gives me some of that backdoor information, if you would. And I want to shout out Nia Morgan, FAMU softball player, is doing her thing, particularly because her dad is a lab fanatic. And I know we have a lot of fanatics out there, but I just wanted to give a shout out to Dad of Nia Morgan and say, appreciate the support. Continue to give us all the support and love. We really appreciate you in terms of having it in the lab. Before I give y'all a chance to get some updates, let me give it out to some of these other lab fanatics out there, as we like to say, those lab listeners. Willie Bolden, Willie E. Davis, as the Willies are in the house, as you can see. Chuck Hunt is always in the house, checking in from Monroe, Louisiana, as he does most of the time. G. Boom Holler. It's a beautiful day here in Texas. Yes, it's beautiful. Hopefully you all get a chance to get outside. I had some of that sunshine because it's nice. And for all those celebrating a holiday weekend, wish you the best weekend in terms of this religious weekend for many of you all. Karen Griffin, Tuskegee and Clark, Atlanta here. I see you. Varick Williams says, go Jags. Yes, I see the Jags turn it up a little bit over the last couple of weeks in terms of baseball. William E. Davis, when the dark clouds gather on the horizon. I think that has something to do a little bit with FAMU as he has the snakes there. just saying. Thomas Einstein Maddox, two of the evening fellas. Look at that. So just want to give a little shout out there and say that. One other thing, you see I have my maroon on, Texas Southern University. Texas Southern is in the news, making some big news out there. So let me give a little love for that out here. Texas Southern named Renette Skeet, new head basketball coach. She was a offensive coach over there, assistant coach, I to say, at Texas A&M, and she's coming over to lead the ship as the women's basketball program moves forward. With talking about basketball, let's stay there. Johnny Jones, Texas Southern agreed to contract extension. So Coach Jones is extremely happy as he gets to show what he's been doing here in terms of those two SWAC tournament championships, including first 4 wins as well. Big stuff, big stuff. And then going to the football side of things, you got Houston, Texas announced partnership with Texas Southern. Yes, that's the Houston Texans. A lot of things they're doing, which includes providing their field turf that they used to use, because they change it out every year, but it's really good turf. They brought that over here. That will be on campus, which is going to be fascinating to see how that goes. You also have a partnership in terms of partnering with faculty and students for internships, learning programs, which will be fascinating in terms of opportunity there. One last thing, since we're on Texas Southern, a lot going on there. My understanding, they've made moves on the volleyball side as well, as you have a volleyball coach, Austin Alexis, coming into the fold, will take over the volleyball side of things. So I've done my duties with Texas Southern University. Everybody can relax now. With that being said, let me go to you, Fulford, as visiting professor. Let me let you share with us some of your thoughts in terms of what are some hot news out there from your perspective.
Doc, I'm surprised you left out the fact that Michael Strahan supposedly was outfitting the football team in suits. You know, the one, you know, the big, I look, dare I say, the biggest alumni of Texas Southern. Okay, you know,
Yolanda Adams may say something about that, but yeah.
Okay, yeah, right. Okay,
but you can argue that. That's for sure.
See, you know, but I'm glad you said that, because there are a lot of people who think the world spins around what happens in Mississippi. And, you know, prior to, November of 2020, prior to November of 2020, most of y'all weren't paying attention to anything going on in Mississippi. So, you know, it's good to hear that there's things going on in other parts of the country. You caught me with that, the Houston Texans replacing field turf every year. Wow. That's all I'm going to say. After being on the field in Bragg Memorial for the MU spring game, man, how, I was like, hey, it's great field turf, but wow, it'd be nice to have it replaced every year.
Yes, literally every year. There's two parts of that. One, money is not really an option, but those that are in Houston, Texas Rodeo, you probably heard about the big deal about Texas Rodeo a couple of years ago when they canceled everything due to COVID. This was right before it really jumped upon all of us because of the cancellation of pro sports and in college. But that was one of the first things we saw early in the week, particularly here in Houston, that really stood out. But and the rodeo is huge, millions of dollars, but it is done in the same NRG stadium where you had the huge concerts as well. So they pull all that up. And as you know, in the rodeo, you had the tractors and you had the rodeo cows, and they put all the dirt down there. So they pull it up literally to do that instead of covering over it. So they just replace it with the new one. But when you had that kind of money, hey, it is what it is. And part of the contract, the Houston Rodeo actually replaces it. So it's not like it's any direct money from the Houston Texans as they are the stewards and getting all done. But that's just the kind of money that's floating around when people won't be able to spend it. We'll take advantage of it. We'll take it.
Exactly. Different kind of money out there in Texas, boy. Look,
that's that oil money.
That's it. Yeah. Different level. Hey, so I'll be real quick. Since we're shouting out in our alma maters and our schools, I got to make mention of the hitter of the week and the pitcher of the week in the SWAC, and they are both Rattlers. Now we told folks Well, we told folks that FAMU was coming over with a strong baseball program. A lot of people were laughing. A lot of people were looking at FAMU back in March saying, oh, the Rattlers looking kind of bad. Well, a lot of things have been resolved. They're pitching the ball a lot better and hitting the ball a lot better. And two of the guys who were responsible for that was hitter of the week, Grant Rowell, and pitcher Hunter Veets. Rowell in 4 games last week, including a sweep over our rival Bethune-Cookman. Had
doesn't get much better than that.
That's not. On the road, too. On the road in beautiful Jackie Robinson Ballpark. 7 hits, a run, 2 doubles, and a homer, 9 RBIs, batting .368, slugging percentage of .632. Rattlers went unbeaten in that series. And then, of course, the pitcher is Hunter Veets. Pitched 8 innings, struck out 10. He has been the opening starter of the last 3 series, and including today, in which FAMU got a 3-2 victory over Jackson State to open up the series against Jackson State. Hunter pitched 6 1/3, I believe. So he didn't go to full 8 like he had the last 2 days, but he still got us off to a good start. Did give up 2 runs in about the 5th or 6th inning, but we held on to get the win. So FAMU wins game 1 of that series against Jackson State today, 3-2. So the Rattlers are rolling, and everybody in the SWAC better watch out.
Like it. Great points. Professor Drew, before we get out of our first break, what kind of news do you want to make sure everybody is talking about today?
I'll make it quick. Brian, yeah, I'm a Rattler. I'm proud of our Rattlers who won Players of the Week, but I'm also a Tuskegee Golden Tiger. We didn't win Player of the Week, but we did get nominated. We had a player nominated in softball, Kayla Wright, and Ariana Stoneback was nominated as Pitcher of the Week for the Tuskegee Golden Tigers, who, for somehow, they have a better record than the number 2 team in the SIAC, but they're listed as the second place team in the SIAC, even though they won the head-to-head series against the team that's listed ahead of them in the SIAC. Looked like somebody from the MEAC office might have snuck over to the SIAC. I didn't say that out loud. But piggybacking off of what Dr. Cavil said, talking about turf, Tennessee State is considering installing turf at Hale Stadium. Hale Stadium's been offline for a couple of years and, going through the various upgrades with that. But looks like Tennessee State may be going to turf. And when you really look around, most of not only HBCUs, but most football programs in general are going to turf now for their preferred athletic surface. Obviously, you don't have to worry about the buddy track. Helps practice if you don't have a secondary practice facility. So, turf overall it seems to be the trend right now in collegiate athletics and high school.
Yeah, but it's easier to take care of in a lot of ways over a period of time. And the field turf has come such a long way that it's really close in terms of safety, in terms of grass. So aesthetics, obviously, grass is great in terms of what it looks like and
when maintained,
the playing surface, and maintain even more importantly, really. But it's so close now, you can see why the cost variance makes a lot of folks make that change that makes that different. With that, let's get into our first break. We'll tease this out. We'll come back and we're going to talk a little bit about the NBA. No, we're not going that far off script. This is NBA based on HBCU, not the current NBA playoffs, if you would, but we'll touch on that just a little bit. Stick with us. We'll tell you as we get that tease, we'll tell you what it would really mean. Let's get into this, our first break. We'll be back as we get into, what is that, the 3rd inning? Just sliding around? Since Brian is throwing this no-hitter.
Second time through the batting order. Second time through the batting order, Doc.
Second time through the batting order? Yeah. Think it was. We'll be right back after this break.
Support the Black College Sports Network so we can continue to provide you coverage. Go to myjbn.com/support and be a part of the Black College Sports
Tell everybody they can follow their dreams.
Oh, that spin class was brutal. Well, you can try using the Buick's massaging seat. Oh, yeah, that's nice.
Can I use Apple CarPlay to put some music on?
Sure, it's wireless.
Pick something we all like. Okay, hold on. What's your Buick's Wi-Fi password?
Buick Envision 2021.
Oh, you should pick something stronger. That's really predictable.
That's a really tight spot. Don't worry, I used to hate parallel parking.
Me too.
Hey.
Really outdid yourself.
Yes, we did.
The all-new Buick Envision, an SUV built around you, all of you.
The top HBCU programs in the nation come to Montgomery, Alabama's Riverwalk Stadium this May 11th through 14th for the Black College World Series. The best Black College baseball teams in the NCAA Division II and the NAIA will battle for Black baseball's ultimate prize. Games will be streamed live at www.mybcsn.net. Tickets are available now online at www.blackcollegechampionships.com.
Let's get back to getting ticks instead of watching flicks. Before we can safely get out there, we need the facts on COVID-19 vaccines. Visit getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision for yourself and for your crew.
Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes.
Never not working.
Never not working. Never ever not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield, never not working.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Ville with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. They're out on assignment, so we have our guest host as we have the visiting professor, Professor Fulford, and we have our clinical professor, Professor Drew. As I talked about, yeah, y'all watching it, Robert Covington of Tennessee State HBCU players still in the playoffs, or at least he has one other chance to see if they can get into the actual playoff side of 18s as they have these playing games, as they like to talk about it. But we're going to talk about the uniqueness of the NBA as they have their 6 divisions, right? Of those 6 divisions, 5 of them are now named for the trophies they have associated with winning divisions. I like this because now it pays some homage about winning your division, which means now you have a collection. Obviously, a lot of programs, Lakers, Boston Celtics, you know, their goal in a lot of ways of what they put the shine on is championships. But just in general, I think anytime in a marketing perspective that you can provide meaningful and tangible objects associated with some type of championships is important. I know I've heard in the SWAC, we look at the division championships and oftentimes people say not as much in terms of how important those, but I think when you're really marketing and having fan appeal, this is important. So this is associated with coming out of the HBCUGameday and NBA.com. If you go to these divisions, the NBA unveiled 6 new trophies for the league division winners, each named after an NBA legend and an African-American pioneer. The trophies, which now will be awarded to the division winners at the end of every season, celebrates the team's season success and honors the pioneers who helped pave the way for the NBA players that have followed. 5 of the 6 legends chosen have direct HBCU ties. I think that's fascinating in so many ways. The trophy is designed by Victor Solomon, each suspend at its center at 200 millimeters, crystal ball comprised of 6 segments representing each of the NBA divisions, one unique segment, and each trophy is rendered in gold representing its respective NBA division. The design of the trophy's base is inspired by the division's conference championship trophy. Each trophy is inscribed with its namesake along with the name of the team represent the division standings are inscribed on the back of the trophy. I like that in terms of the design, how they went into detail. It's sweet too. It's something that you can see the NBA and those who really understand brand analysis and marketing. So what does that mean? Atlantic Division, Nate Sweetwater Clifton Trophy, The first African-American to sign a contract in the NBA, Clifton played for the New York Knicks from 1950 to 57 and was the NBA All-Star in 1957. In the first season, he helped lead the Knicks to their first finals appearance. The Chicago native spent one season at Xavier of Louisiana prior to World War II. Central Division, Wayne Emery Trophy, the first African-American to become an NBA general manager with the Milwaukee Bucks after a lengthy play career, including 5 NBA All-Stars and the NBA championship in 1968. He continued as a general manager, as a basketball executive with the Cleveland Cavaliers, Toronto Raptors, to name a few. Southeastern Division, many people are familiar with this name, but if not, think about this one, Earl Lloyd Trophy. This first African-American to play a game in the NBA, Lloyd played in the Washington Capitals, Syracuse Nationals, and Detroit Pistons. Army veteran, played 9 NBA seasons and won an NBA title in 1955. He won 2 CIAA titles with West Virginia State College. If you've seen Black Magic, you really seen him come to life in telling some of the history of the early years of HBCU basketball. Northwest Division, another name out here that many should be familiar with, Sam Jones Trophy. Jones, a graduate of North Carolina Central, has won more championships than any HBCU graduate has played in the NBA. He won 10 championships as a member of the Boston Celtics from 1957 to 69 and was a 5-time All-Star, 3-time All-NBA selection and a member of the league 25th, 50th, and 70th anniversary team. Jones was nicknamed the Shooter. You know, you had to be pure to get that nickname. For his ability to hit clutch shots in the championship run, he stood up for the rights of African Americans in the league and in the country during pivotal times in the 1960s. I'm proud to say my first CIAA tournament, Dr. Cunningham, who played with at Virginia State and was a contemporary of him, introduced him to me, and I got to sit up with him and talk with him and just listen, really in more ways than one, over a whole game. That was fascinating, something I'll always remember. Specific trophy, the last one, the Chuck Cooper Trophy. First African-American to play to be drafted in the NBA. Cooper was selected with the 14th overall pick in 1950 NBA draft. Veteran of the Navy. He played 6 seasons in the league with the Boston Celtics, Atlanta Hawks, and Detroit Pistons. He started his college career at West Virginia State. 2 of them for West Virginia State. Nice touch there. Go to the NBA.com, type in the new division trophies so you can see these trophies because they're really nice, and make sure you get that history. I would be remiss if I did not share that in terms of just the history of HBCUs. Before we go back to another break, I did want to get your all thoughts on this before we get really back into some baseball things. But it just seemed appropriate as you're in the NBA playoffs. And as I said, Covington is still playing after the Tennessee State HBCU graduate himself. It just seemed some symmetry right there. Let me go to you, Professor Drew. What are your thoughts on this?
Hey, I wonder if this is gonna go like the old NHL that we grew up knowing with the Wales and the Campbell Conference. You know, they had 4 divisions: the Adams, the Patrick, the Norris, and the Smythe division. That was around from the late 70s until about 92, 93 season. So I want to take that one step further since they've got these trophies, Dr. Cavil. I would like to name the divisions instead of going East and West division. How about the Bill Russell division for the East? You know, the man who has more NBA rings than anyone out there. And how about the Wilt Chamberlain division for the West, who's not only scored points on the basketball court, but we've heard the legends of the scores he got off the court also.
Make sure you tag that, because if it happens, you want to get that check. I like that. That's nice, though. That's pretty nice. Yeah. While we're talking about it, is that something that you would like to see maybe with some of the HBCUs with, you know, between the CIAA, SIAC, and the SWAC, you had these divisions. Is that another way to look in maybe honoring some of the alumni, some of the big time history that's associated with SWAC? I guess the trouble you would have is how do you determine who should be on those divisions? That could get a little sticky. But Bryan, any thoughts on that? And obviously thoughts in terms of NBA naming these trophies and so many connected with HBCU programs.
You know, I heard Drew, as I hear Drew talking about Wilt, and I'm wondering, do you remember Wilt as a Laker? or the Sixers. Obviously, the Sixers is where he scored 100 points.
Right, but you'd have to make him remember as a Laker to put him in, make him the Western Division.
Well, right, but that's what I'm saying. I when you mentioned the Western, obviously Bill is the East, and it's like, yeah, on the West. I kind of wonder. It's I hate to. Well, I don't know. It's just a thought that popped in my head. We can debate on this all day on a longer format, but I like the fact that the NBA is sticking with the divisions. Now, Drew, Doc, did you notice where Drew started his conversation off talking about hockey? Now, that's how you know Drew grew up in a hockey town in St. Louis.
Yeah.
Where there's hockey.
North Division, baby.
Yeah, see, I grew up in Indianapolis in cornfields. We didn't have hockey; we had basketball. So,
St. Louis Blues.
Yeah, so that's how you know someone grew up in a hockey town when they start naming a lot of those names that he threw out there. But I would even go, hey, pop quiz, do you even know who won such and such division? The Atlantic, Central, and Southeast, because there's such a narrative. Well, I say that because there's such a narrative by people in media and basketball media to want to abolish the divisions and go strictly to conferences, as if the divisions don't have any meaning. And really kind of the way they've shaped the playoffs these days, it really, the divisions, other than the number of games you play, they really don't factor in. Well, I guess they factor into that respect. If your division is weak, you're adding up wins, because I think you play one more game than the rest of the Eastern Conference and the West. So I hope they stick with the divisions. I would hate to see the NBA abolish these divisions in 5 to 10 years after they've done such a great job of choosing to honor these great individuals. And yes, that trophy looks awesome, by the way. And, so kudos and shout outs to the NBA.
Yeah. Great point. And I would think after doing something like this, you would have to think the divisions will be committed to for at least for a while. But great point when you talk about you do all this work and then you have so much momentum, it seems, at least from the media perspective, about just the divisional alignments in terms of each conference, if you would. So fascinating, something interesting to think about what that looks like. Talk about it a little later. I do want to get your thoughts in terms of maybe should that happen, CIAA, SIAC, SWAC. I'll give you some time to think about it, because I want to see maybe if you consider a name or two you'd put on a particular division. But we'll save that, because before we take this break, I wanted to get in this because this is a little interesting tidbit that I saw come across, and I'm not sure how many people paid attention to it, because it's just different. Acrobatics and tumbling added to Morgan State sports offering beginning in 2023. This is from NCAA 16 varsity sport competition. Morgan State will add. Morgan will join the National Collegiate Acrobatics and Tumbling Association, NCATA, a discipline of USA Gymnastics, to become its 40th member. Having met the required participation threshold, acrobatics and tumbling will become eligible for the NCAA champion status, a major milestone for sports and schools. So it's good from the standpoint that Morgan State is opening up and providing new opportunities. But because of their decision, they actually help the NCATA and all the member institutions push this over the threshold for it to become an NCAA sport. And as I said, that means it will be the 16th NCAA sport. So I'm intrigued about that a little bit, just what that may look like. Let's get into this break, because I want to come back and really get into some of this baseball talk. I want to see what your thoughts are. We can start a little bit in terms of the SIAC, those teams at the top. Don't want to spoil it, but you touched on a little bit in terms of Tuskegee, Albany State, Savannah State, as they get ready for the stretch run into the tournament and see what they're able to do. What does that mean moving forward? Also, obviously, talk a little bit about the Black College World Series, where some of these teams will be preparing to play for that in some ways. You all show debuts. I guess you'll get a chance to tell us when people can watch that and how often to watch it, because my understanding, you're going to do a weekly series and walk right up to the tournament, giving people updates of what things are going on, what that's looking like. So we get a chance on the backside to talk a little bit about that. And then obviously we'll close out and go even deeper in terms of the SWAC races, some of the matchups that start. And they start early this week because of the holiday weekend. Instead of doing the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you have a lot of teams doing the Thursday, Friday, and Saturday and we'll get a chance to give you some updates of those games today and what's taking place. So stick with us. We'll be right back after this break. We're going to go into the sixth inning, if you would. We're moving along. Professor Fulford is looking good. Can he keep it up strong? Can he make it to that seventh inning stretch? Let's see what he can do. Shout out to all those listeners out there. Just checking with. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this break.
Your ad could be ran here. MyJBN.com/support. MyJBN.com/support for more information.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Itchy, squirmy, scratchy, family not getting clean? Get Charmin Ultra Strong. Go get 'em! It just cleans better. With a diamond weave texture, your family can use less while still getting clean.
Goodbye, itchy squirm.
Hello, cream bottom.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
The top HBCU programs in the nation come to Montgomery, Alabama's Riverwalk Stadium this May 11th through 14th for the Black College World Series. The best Black college baseball teams in the NCAA Division II and the NAIA will battle for Black baseball's ultimate pride. Games will be streamed live at www.mybcsn.net. Tickets are available now online at www.blackcollegechampionships.com.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna law, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. They're out on assignment. So we have the visiting Professor Fulford in the house and clinical Professor Drew in the house. With that being said, let's get into a little bit of this baseball. Before we go to the Division I and even maybe touch on a little bit of softball there to give you some updates as we did on Tuesday, we're going to talk about some of those matchups. Just wanted to get some breakdown. What's going on here? NCAA Division II, NIA. Some of the teams up here. Drew broke down some fact sheets. I'm not sure that we can give you all this golden information, man. Boy, if you had the backdrop to what I know, this data analytics, I'm gonna have to use this for class, Drew. This is nice breakdown stuff, man. Yeah. But he breaks down all these teams out here, SIAC, some independents such as Bluefield, Virginia State as an independent, West Virginia, MEAC, just to tell you something like that. And then we also have those NIA schools out here, Errol Waters, which is an independent, if you would, as they transition from NIA to Division II into the SIAC. Florida Memorial out of the Sun Conference, Harris Stowe out of the American, Midwest, Xavier, Red River, and the rest of them with Talladega as well, of the Southern states, to name a few of them. But just give me some context of what you did when you put something together like this and why it's important, because where does this information go?
This is some of the information that's going to be going to the Black College World Series Selection Committee. And what I did, I really took a deep dive because I believe knowledge is power. And with my economic mind, I see numbers, and I tend to see numbers in a way a lot of people don't see numbers. You can qualify something, but when you quantify something, it seems like it's a lot easier for people to make decisions. So that's what I did when I put this spreadsheet together. And this information is obviously it's got your total wins and your conference wins. I took it one step further and broke down our HBCUs and how they compete against other HBCUs outside of their home conference. So for a SIAC team, if they were to play an independent such as a Bluefield State, I've got the record how they've done. It's easy to see what they did against other HBCUs in their conference, but that way we're comparing apples to apples when we go out of the conference. Obviously, I've got the information that we use for our BCSN rankings, and then I even took a little bit further. I broke down the teams' records against Division 1s, Division 2s, and against NAIAs, and even a couple of them that played a Division 3 school. And probably the most telling stat that I have is, just like they do on the NCAA basketball committee, I broke each team's win down into Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4. So, and that's just determined by taking the total number of teams in NCAA Division 2, NAIA, whatever, and divided by 4. If you play the team as in the top quarter, that's a Tier 1 win. If you play the team in the second 25, that's a Tier 2 win, and so forth and so on, Doc. So that's the general breakdown. I don't know how deep you want me to get into some of these teams, so I'll just leave it right there for right now.
Let me ask a question. So what is more valuable? A 3 wins in Tier 2 or 1 win in Tier 1 and 1 win in Tier 2?
That's what the committee will have to figure out. My job is just to provide them this information. So for you, Bryan Fulford, what is weird? Because there are some, and I said there are some Division 2 NCAA teams that have 20 plus Tier 4 victories.
Yeah.
And a Tier 3 victory, but no Tier 2 and Tier 1s. Now, that could be a product of their schedule, or that could be a product of them not being able to beat those teams. The committee will have to look at those and see why does this team, and I'll throw 2 of those teams out there for discussion. Albany State has a Tier 1 victory, has 19 Tier 4 victories. Savannah State, who has the best record of our Division 2s, has 22 Tier 4 victories, no Tier 1 victories, but 3 Tier 2 victories. So you're in the committee.
Oh, I love it.
You sit down and you figure that out, Mr. Fulford, and make sure you explain your justification.
Throw it back to him.
That's how you, and make sure you explain your justification, 250 words to the dean, so that he can grade your analysis appropriately.
Did he say I was on the committee? I didn't think I was on the committee.
You're not on the committee. You're not on the committee.
Okay, right.
But I'm saying if you were on the committee, that's what you would.
No, we're gonna give you a quiz though, like you were on the committee. We getting into the 7-inning stretch, and you throwing too many balls there. And I think you threw one close to Drew, and Drew looked at you. He had the bat. It looked like he was coming towards you. We had to shift him off.
Catcher stepping in right now between us.
Exactly. Just letting you know. So we got Mike with the data points. Now we got Drew
with the data,
with the analytics. Man, this is just beautiful. Hey, where can you get that? Anywhere else but inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Let's get back to it. Get into this break so we can get into talking about some of the SWAC matchups this weekend. Great information in terms of what you can expect as we get into the Black College World Series. Again, check out Bryan and AD weekly as they provide you the road to the Black College World Series every Wednesday. Obviously, you know about their show on Sunday. They continue to give you great information and insights that you can't get anywhere else. And like many folks, they talk about the Division 1. You're going to get it across all divisions, NAIA, NCAA Division 2, and Division 1. Obviously, football is FCS. Stick with us. We'll be right back after our last break. We're getting into the 7-inning stretch. We'll see if Bryan can close it. He's close to doing a no-hitter. He's looking a little tired. Should we pull it, Drew? Should we pull it? Or are we going to let him make it?
Don't walk nobody.
That'll work. Stick with us. We'll be right back at this break, and we'll get into some of these matchups between the MEAC and the SWAC, giving you what to expect the rest of this weekend, give you some updates of what's taking place today, of what scores and information we get. Stick with us. We'll be right back as we get into the 7th inning stretch.
You see, Head & Shoulders has scalp shield technology, protects against flakes, even between washes. It's never not working.
Kind of like us. Number 15?
Never not working.
I don't like this one.
Me neither.
Let's get out of here.
Head & Shoulders scalp shield, never not working.
That's right, y'all. The Black College Baseball Championship Series is back. The Black College World Series return May 11th through 15th to a place where so much Black history has been made. Montgomery, Alabama, to the home of the Montgomery Biscuit. That's right. Riverwalk Stadium, downtown Montgomery, Alabama. The cries have been heard, and Black College Championships LLC is here to answer the call. No longer will the poll determine our champion, as the top baseball teams from NCAA Division II and NAIA meet on the field for Black College baseball supremacy.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna law, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Ville with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. As you know, they're out on assignment, so we have the professors in, Professor Fulford and Professor Drew. You know, y'all like to tease on the MEAC, especially Professor Drew. He likes to tease the MEAC with the MEAC-ish, but I like this. This is a little different, and this is a way to try to keep that family, if you would, that we talk about. The MEAC has announced the formation of MEAC Nations Association. We teased this out a little bit of Commissioner Sonia Steels of the MEAC when she was on the show right before they were talking about the basketball tournament starting up, and she was talking about they were having an event. Must have went pretty well. She is quoted as saying, the creation of the MEAC Nation Association marks a pivotal point in our conference history, end quote. MEAC Commissioner Sonia Steele says, to be able to engage so many constituents among our membership, both current and former, to tell the MEAC story and use the connection to grow not just the conference, but our member institutions is vital. Students, alumni, potential donors, supporters, to have them all pulling in the same direction under the MEAC Nation banner will benefit the entire conference as well as our institutions, end quote. I like this. Obviously, you have members that have now left the conference, but they're still welcome in terms of their connection, and some of them have storied histories in the MEAC. So I think that's important connection that was mentioned, that all this is included to those who ever had memberships in the MEAC, current or past, in terms of that. But let's get into some of this baseball talk a little bit. See what your thoughts are with some of these matchups. Jackson State at FAMU, Grambling at Texas Southern, Bethune-Cookman at Alabama A&M, Alabama State at Mississippi Valley, Southern at Prairie View, Alcorn State at Arkansas Pine Bluff. In terms of baseball, softball at Southern at Texas Southern, Mississippi Valley to Bethune-Cookman, Alabama A&M at FAMU, Alabama State at Jackson State, Arkansas Pine Bluff at Prairie View, Alcorn State at Grambling. Man, the list of these deep games is so interesting when you have 12 teams playing week to week with all these different matchups. It's fascinating. 6 games, 3 on each division. But you go to the MEAC, Coppin State at Maryland Eastern Shore, Norfolk State at Delaware State, and in softball, you have South Carolina State at Howard, North Carolina Central at Norfolk State, Maryland Eastern Shore at Morgan State, Delaware State at Coppin State, FAMU is in second place in the division. I know you'll talk a little bit about the Jackson State game there. Who's leading them? Is Alabama State at 10-2. As I said, FAMU in second, they had 9-3. And then you have Bethune-Cookman, who was at the top, that's fallen off at 7-5. Jackson State had big wins, sweeping Valley last week, so that you have Southern at 9-3, and it's close at the top. Prairie View and Grambling are sitting at 8-4 in second place. So that means that Texas Southern Grambling series is big because Southern is 6-6. Just to give you some updates there, all close and clouded up in the MEAC with 2 games from the top to the bottom, 9-7, 8-8, 8-8, 7-9 between Coppin State, Delaware State, Maryland, Eastern Shore, and Norfolk State. As Drew would say, MEAC-ish, but I'm just going to give you the updates. In terms of softball for the MEAC, you have Maryland, Eastern Shore at the top at 10-2. Norfolk State, Morgan State sitting behind them at 9-3, 9-3. SWAC at the top of the standings softball. Bethune-Cookman at 9-6. Jackson State 8-7. Style with FAMU 8-7. Valley played one less game, but they're at 7-7. In the West, you have Texas Southern dominating things at 12-3. But you have Prairie View at 9-6 and Alcorn at 8-7. Southern has fallen to 7-8 in terms of what's going on. Top 8 teams go to the tournament, baseball and softball, so it's interesting. I'm going to go to you, Professor Fulford. Talk about the game today in terms of FAMU, Jackson State, interesting one. Jackson State, as I said, coming off a sweep with Valley. FAMU playing some good baseball. So this was an interesting matchup to me. Game 1 is in the books. What did you hear?
Yeah, game 1's in the books. FAMU got 2 runs in the bottom of the first inning, another run in the bottom of the 4th inning, and it wasn't until Hunter Beats gave up a couple of runs in the top half of the 7th inning where the score, ended up being 3-2 before Coach Jeremy Shoup pulled him, went to the relief pitcher. He managed to do a good job, Zach Morea, and then they went to the closer to close the game out. But I think it's interesting the fact that, this is, again, the fourth consecutive strong start by Hunter Veets. And, I'd really have to do a deep dive and kind of look at what other pitchers are in the SWAC having the kind of performance, but he's shaping up to be pitcher of the year. It's still a lot of baseball, a lot of weekend series, but, show me a guy who's as dominant as he has been in the first half of games so far. And so Hunter's doing a great job. So it'll be interesting. Game 2 and 3 are Friday and Saturday. Obviously that's set up to get Jackson State on the road. And I'm curious if there are other series that are going on in a similar fashion, a Friday or a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I can't imagine, or, who knows, maybe some schools are playing on Easter. But I haven't looked at the schedule, but that's the latest. And it puts FAMU right now 11-3 in conference, sitting in second place based on win percentage, but first place in terms of wins.
Yeah, give you an update as you said it. I know Texas Southern and Grambling. In fact, according to the stats out here, top of the 5th, Texas Southern's up 3-2. You have a late game between Bethune-Cookman at Alabama A&M. They're a 7:00 game. Those are all Thursday games in terms of schedules that have been moved up. The rest of them are starting Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. When you talk about some of these other matchups, Alabama State at Valley, Southern at Prairie View, in terms of that game being in Baton Rouge. So it's actually Prairie View at Southern, I should say. And then you have Alcorn at Pine Bluff in terms of that matchup. Let me go to you, Professor Drew. What are some of the big matchups that you're looking for this weekend in terms of what you're hearing these schedules thus far?
Can we get some separation in the MEAC? Looking at the scores, because the MEAC also began their weekend series today in honor of Eastern. Maryland Eastern Shore defeated Coppin State 7-6, and Delaware State defeated Norfolk State 13-6. So taking a look at the current MEAC standings, April 14th at 7:53 Eastern, 6:53 Central Time. Delaware State, Coppin State, Maryland Eastern Shore, all are tied at 9-8. with Norfolk State at 7-10. Tiebreaker offense. Are you running analytics like I do? Somebody needs to be running some analytics. And there is still the possibility that you could have 2, 3, or 4 of these teams with a 10-10 record.
There's only 4
after this week. After this weekend, you could mathematically have everyone at 10-10 this weekend.
That would be the most MEAC-ish. That right there would look. It's hashtag MEAC-ish right there. Man, I tell you, love it.
I just want to see separation because I mean, right now, I'm assuming Delaware State is in first place because they're listed first on the website. So I'm assuming they have on the tiebreaker against Coppin and Maryland. You should show I haven't went deep inside the numbers, but I mean,
no, it's too early for tiebreak. What they do usually now is just do like alphabetical order, or they'll do the best overall record. So that's why you have these different alignments.
And that would make sense because Delaware has the best win percentage overall at 444 overall.
Yeah. That's the one they tend to lean on a little bit there. But great points, man. That's fascinating. As you said, how that look. Let's get ready to close out. Give both of you your last word. I'm going to start with you, Professor Drew. What are your thoughts going into this weekend or just overall at this time during the HBCU sporting calendar?
I'm gonna throw the little curveball. I want you guys to stay tuned at 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central. The road to Montgomery showed if we were supposed to come on last night, we had some technical difficulties. The podcast will come on tonight at 8:30, and it's real interesting podcast. We take a dive into what is the Black College World Series. We talk with one of the local officials of the city of Montgomery, Aquan Robinson of the Chamber of Commerce, and then Mike and I will take a deep dive into those teams that Dr. Cavil was talking about on that list. We will talk about those 15 teams in this podcast.
Nice. I look forward to that. Got to check on that. Let me go to you, Professor Fulford. What are your closing thoughts? What's on your mind?
What's on my mind is Amisha Williams-Holiday, Doc. I'm still excited for that young lady. And I'm excited from the standpoint as an Indiana basketball guy. It's awesome that she went to the Indiana Fever. Now, I will claim all things Indiana unless we are playing really bad and sucking. And the Indiana Fever was a championship team in 2012. We had a Hall of Famer, Tamika Catchings, leading us. And then all of a sudden, the last few years, we've hit a tailspin, hit rock bottom. We had Instagram stars on our roster that look better on Instagram than they were on the court. And so, my excitement for the team had really waned. But now, given the fact that this team not only had 4 draft picks in the first 10 selections of the draft, they went out and took a local star from the state, but then they also went and grabbed Williams-Holiday. And I was listening to an interview with the head coach, and she's been coaching for like 50-something years. Lynn, oh my God, the name strikes me. But anyway, she's been coaching for 50 years. And I heard her say the biggest difference that all of these young ladies are going to have to deal with. I mean, this is a team that came in saying they needed front court help. So Williams-Holiday is getting an opportunity to go in and show how physical and what type of post players she can be for an organization that needs solid post work, solid post players. She talked about the physicality being the biggest difference. So I'm hoping that she gets an opportunity to make this roster, be a part of I don't know if they do 15 women rosters or if it's just the 12, but if she gets an opportunity, which I think she will get an opportunity to possibly maybe be that 10th, 11th, or 12th person. I hope she takes advantage of it. I mean, it's a great story, without a doubt, but to sort of complete it and to really write that last chapter and put that period on the end of this section of the book, I want her to make that team. So all the best of luck to Amisha Williams-Holiday in my hometown of Indianapolis, Indiana. Basketball city, basketball heaven. We love our basketball. Men, women, sport, doesn't matter. We love basketball. So she will be at home. And I wish her all much success in the Hoosier State.
No doubt about it. Perfect way to close. Great way to do that. That'll do it for us. As I get ready to get out of here and get to McGregor Park, see if I can catch the end of that Texas Southern Grambling game, get some updates and see what's going on there on my way home. Thank you for listening inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Hope you enjoyed the visiting Professor Bryan Fulford, the clinical Professor A.D. Drew. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time right here. Look forward to this. We'll be back next week giving you the updates of what took place this past weekend and what's coming up